Once upon a time, in a quiet village in England, lived a young boy named Leo. Leo loved to draw. He didn't have fancy crayons or art books, just old paper scraps and a stubby pencil. While others played football or watched TV, Leo would sit on a big oak tree and sketch his dreams. But not everyone believed in him. Drawing won't get you anywhere, the other kids teased. Even Leo's own parents thought he was wasting his time. One rainy evening, while walking home from school, Leo found something strange near the riverbank. It was an old wooden paintbrush, half buried in the mud. He picked it up, cleaned it off, and tucked it into his bag. That night, something magical happened. Leo dipped the brush in water and painted on a scrap of paper. To his shock, the drawing shimmered and came to life. A bird he painted flapped its wings and flew out the window. The paintbrush was magical. From that day on, Leo painted things to help others. Umbrellas for the rainy days, food for the hungry, even little gifts for sad children. But he never used the brush for fame or money. One day, a famous artist visited the village. Seeing Leo's sketches, he was stunned. "These are incredible. Where did you learn to draw like this?" Leo smiled. "I just believed in my dreams and kept drawing." The artist invited Leo to study at a top art school. And though Leo eventually became a famous painter, he never forgot where he came from or the old paintbrush that helped him believe in himself. As Leo's fame grew, he started traveling around the world. He painted giant murals in cities, held art exhibitions, and met thousands of fans. But no one knew the secret behind his success, the old magical paintbrush. Leo kept the brush safe in a small wooden box and used it only when someone truly needed help. But fame, as magical as it seems, comes with its own shadows. One day, while Leo was visiting London for an exhibition, the paintbrush was stolen. Leo was heartbroken. He searched everywhere. He questioned his staff, the hotel, even police, but the brush had vanished. Days turned into weeks. The sparkle in his art began to fade. People whispered, "His paintings, they're not the same anymore." But instead of giving up, Leo picked up an ordinary brush and returned to a big oak tree in his old village, the place where it all began. He started sketching again from his heart. At first, his hands trembled. The colors looked dull. But he didn't stop. Word spread quickly. "Leo is painting again in the village." Children from nearby towns came to watch. Old folks brought him tea. A little girl tugged on his sleeve one day and said, "Your painting made me smile for the first time in weeks." And in that moment, Leo realized the real magic was never in the brush. It was in his belief, his kindness, his purpose. A few days later, he received a small parcel with no name. Inside it was the old paintbrush and a note. "You didn't need magic to change the world, Leo. You just needed to believe." Leo smiled, held the brush tight, and placed it back in the wooden box. He still painted with it sometimes, but now he knew the real magic lived in every stroke, every color, and every heart he touched. Part 3, Leo and the Dream Academy. After receiving the old brush with the mysterious note, Leo's heart was full, but he also felt a new sense of responsibility. If the magic wasn't just in the brush, maybe it was meant to be shared. That night, under the stars near the same oak tree he'd always sat beneath as a boy, Leo made a decision. He would open a school, but not just any school. The Dream Academy, a place where children from all walks of life could come to learn, create, and believe in themselves, just like he had. No grades, no pressure, just imagination, kindness, and the courage to dream. Within months, the academy was built near the village. It had open-air classrooms, art gardens, and even a small forest path where students could sketch nature. Children came from all over the UK, some rich, some poor, some who'd never picked up a brush in their life. Leo didn't teach just art. He taught confidence, passion, and belief. One day, a quiet boy named Sam joined the academy. He never spoke much and always looked down at his shoes. But Leo saw something in him. He reminded Leo of himself. One rainy afternoon, Sam was alone in the art room, trying to draw. His paper was soaked. His lines didn't make sense. Frustrated, He crumpled his work and sighed. Leo walked over, placed a hand on his shoulder, and said, "Do you know what makes a great artist, Sam?" Sam shook his head. "It's not the brush, not the colors, not even talent. It's the courage to try again, even when it feels impossible." That one moment changed everything for Sam. And just like that, the Dream Academy became more than a school. It became a sanctuary for dreamers. Years passed. Leo grew older. His hair turned silver, but his heart was forever young. One evening, he handed the magical paintbrush to Sam. "It's yours now," Leo said. "But remember, only use it when you truly believe someone needs a little help finding their magic." Sam took the brush with wide eyes. "But what if I'm not ready?" Leo smiled. "You already are." As the sun set behind the hills, the legacy continued. The brush had passed to a new dreamer, and the world, through kindness, art, and belief, grew a little brighter. Sam stood under the twilight sky, holding the magical brush in his trembling hands. The weight of it wasn't just wood and bristles. It was responsibility, legacy, and hope. Leo gave him one last nod before walking down the path toward his cottage, disappearing into the golden glow of sunset. For days, Sam didn't use the brush. He kept it in a wooden case beside his bed, staring at it every night, wondering, what if I mess up? What if I'm not special like Leo? But then, something happened. A terrible storm hit a nearby village. The river overflowed. Homes were damaged. People were displaced, and the local school was destroyed. The news reached the Dream Academy the next morning. Everyone was shaken, including Sam. He paced back and forth in the art room, holding the brush. He thought about Leo's words. Only use it when you truly believe someone needs help finding their magic. Sam took a deep breath. He dipped the brush into a jar of muddy rainwater, the only water available after the storm, and began to paint. First, he painted a roof, then walls, then books, beds, blankets, meals. Each stroke shimmered and shimmered, and within seconds, real things began appearing in the damaged village, just as they had when Leo once painted years ago. The villagers were stunned. Children laughed. Parents cried. And far away, Leo, watching from his cottage window, simply smiled. Sam didn't stop there. He traveled from town to town, painting hope where there was none. A playground in a war-torn city. A greenhouse in a dry desert village. A warm coat for a freezing child. But most of all, he painted dreams, helping others rediscover their own purpose. And like Leo once did, Sam refused fame. He stayed anonymous, leaving behind a single sign wherever he went. Believe, and you'll find your brush too. Eventually, children around the world started painting their own hopes, not with magic, but with heart. The Dream Academy expanded to other countries. Art became a universal language of healing and courage. Years later, an old, wise Sam sat under a tree. Not the oak tree Leo had loved, but one he planted himself. A small girl walked up to him and asked, "Is it true you had a magical brush?" Sam chuckled. "I still do, but now I know the truth." The girl's eyes widened. "What truth?" Sam smiled, handing her a blank canvas. The brush was never the magic. It was just a mirror. The real magic is already inside you. The little girl stared at Sam, her eyes wide and full of wonder. She clutched the blank canvas he had handed her, as if it held the key to her future. "But what if I mess up?" she whispered. Sam chuckled softly. "Then you try again. That's what artists do. That's what dreamers do." She sat beside him under the shade of the tree, the canvas resting on her knees. "Will I ever be as good as you?" Sam looked at her for a long moment. "You'll be better, because you'll paint a world I can't even imagine." As days passed, the little girl, her name was Eliza, began to draw every day. She painted trees that danced, skies with swirling galaxies, and people with wings. She didn't use a magical brush, just crayons and chalk. But every stroke had heart. One afternoon, Sam called her into the art room and opened a small wooden chest. Inside was a magical paintbrush. "I think it's time," he said gently. Eliza gasped. "For me?" Sam nodded. It's not just about painting things that come to life. It's about bringing people to life, helping them believe, giving them hope. Do you think you're ready? Eliza looked down at her own hands. Small, nervous, shaky. But then she remembered how she used to be too scared to even hold a pencil. And now she was painting galaxies. She nodded slowly. I think I am. Sam placed a brush in her hand. Then go. Find someone who's forgotten how to dream. Remind them. And just like that, a new journey began. Eliza traveled far beyond the village, to cities torn by sadness and places where people walked with their heads down. She didn't just paint houses and clothes. She painted stories. A lonely boy's smile, a mother's hug, a sunrise in a windowless home. Every time she touched the canvas, the world became just a little bit more alive. And back home, in the village, Sam watched her journey through letters, stories from travelers, and whispers of the girl with the magic heart. Then one day, the brush vanished. Eliza woke up to find it gone. No sign, no note. At first, she panicked, but then she smiled, because now she knew. The brush had found its next dreamer. And that was how the cycle continued, from Leo to Sam to Eliza and beyond. Eliza stood at the window, watching the morning sun rise over the hills, the same hills where Sam once passed with the brush. Though the paintbrush was gone, her heart felt light, not heavy, because now she understood the truth. The magic was never meant to stay. It was meant to move, to grow. Meanwhile, far across the sea, in a bustling city filled with noise and neon lights, a boy named Kian sat alone on a rooftop, sketching quietly in the corner of an old notebook. He didn't have fancy pencils or colors, just a broken pen and a mind full of ideas. But Kian felt invisible. His parents worked all day. No one cared about his drawings. In school, he was always told to focus on real subjects, not useless art. One rainy afternoon, while looking for shelter in a junkyard, Kian stumbled upon a small wooden box, half buried beneath a pile of metal scraps. He opened it. Inside was an old, weathered paintbrush. He blinked. It looked ordinary, just old. But something about it felt different, warm, alive. He took it home, and that night, with no paint, no canvas, just his notebook, he dipped the brush into water and made a single stroke. It shimmered. His drawing came to life. Kian dropped the brush in shock. The bird he had drawn flew off the page, circled the room, and perched on his shoulder. His eyes widened with wonder and fear, but slowly that fear turned into a smile. Without knowing it, the brush had chosen its next dreamer. Over the coming weeks, Kian began painting the things he needed. Shoes without holes, a light when the power went out, food when the fridge was empty. But he also began giving. Toys for the children on his block, colors to the gray walls of his school, and warm jackets for the homeless man near the train station. No one knew where the miracles came from, but they whispered about a mysterious rooftop artist who left hope wherever he went. Back in her village, Eliza heard the rumors, and she knew. She sat under her tree and smiled. He found it. The brush found him. And somewhere far away, Leo, old now, perhaps a little slower, but still watching, heard of this new dreamer too. He looked up at the stars at night and whispered, "Keep it alive, Kian. Keep the magic moving." As Kian's art continued to change lives, whispers about the mysterious miracle painter began to spread, not just in his neighborhood, but across the entire city. People started searching for him. Journalists, influencers, even corporations. They all wanted to know who was behind the magic. Kian stayed hidden. It wasn't about attention. He only wanted to help. But one day, a powerful businessman named Mr. Rourke found him. He visited Kian's rooftop, surrounded by glowing murals and living sketches. His tone was smooth, but his smile was sharp. "You got talent, kid. Real magic. Why waste it on the poor? I'll give you a studio, a team, money. All you have to do is paint for me." Kian was tempted. He'd never had real food every day, or warm clothes, or security. But he remembered the first time he used a brush. The joy in a homeless man's eyes when he gave him a blanket. The laughter of the children when he painted them a playground. That was real magic. So Kian said no. Rourke was furious. "Do you think magic will protect you forever?" he growled. "One day, the world will take it from you." And just like that, he was gone. That night, Kian couldn't sleep. His heart was heavy. For the first time, he doubted. What if Rourke was right? What if people started chasing the brush? What if they fought over it? What if the world stopped deserving it? As those thoughts swirled in his mind, something strange happened. The magical brush began to fade. The wood lost its warmth. The shimmer disappeared. Kian panicked. He tried painting, but nothing came to life. Nothing moved. It was just a brush. He held it tightly, whispering, "Please, I still believe." Then a soft breeze touched his cheek, and a voice echoed in his mind, a voice he had never heard, but somehow recognized. Magic doesn't live in the brush. It lives in your choice. You must let it go for it to live on. Tears filled Kian's eyes. The next morning, he walked to a small park near the river. He placed a brush gently inside a hollow tree and whispered, "Find someone who needs it. I'll keep painting anyway." And he did, with no magic, just heart. Kian continued to draw murals that made people smile, taught kids to paint, and shared a story with anyone willing to listen. He became a spark in the city. Proof that even without magic, one person could inspire thousands. Far away, the brush waited quietly for its next dreamer. Years passed. Seasons changed. Rain fell. Leaves grew and drifted. The world turned quietly, as it always does. But deep inside the hollow tree, the brush remained, waiting, listening, searching for the heart of the next dreamer. And then one evening, as dusk painted the sky in shades of purple and gold, a girl named Amara wandered into the forest. She was different from others. Amara couldn't speak. Born without a voice, she lived in silence, but her hands spoke with movement. Her fingers danced in the air like music, telling stories through sign and sketches on old notebooks. No one understood her fully. People often spoke over her, around her, but never with her. She came to the forest to escape the noise of the world that refused to listen. On that evening, while exploring the trees, she stumbled across the hollow trunk. Curious, she reached inside, and her fingers touched something smooth, the brush. She pulled it out slowly, staring at it with wonder. It looked old, worn, yet familiar, like something she'd always known in a dream. Without thinking, she dipped it into the air and moved it gently, as if painting on an invisible canvas. And suddenly light, golden swirls followed her movements, dancing in the air like fireflies. Her eyes widened. Her heart raced. She painted again, a bird with wings wide open. The bird flapped once and took off into the sky. Amara fell to her knees. She couldn't speak, but her laughter came out as glowing shapes, visual sound. She had finally found her voice. The brush had chosen her. But Amara didn't use it for attention or fame. She painted things that could speak for those who couldn't. Murals in sign language, glowing shapes that told stories on the streets, dances of color that gave comfort to the lonely. She showed the world that you don't need words to be heard. And soon, people began to gather wherever she painted, not to worship her, but to listen, because for the first time, they saw the quiet ones and finally understood their beauty. One day, as Amara painted on the wall of an orphanage, she noticed a small boy watching her. He looked broken, lost, like someone who had stopped dreaming. She smiled, walked over, and handed him the brush. He hesitated, but she gently placed it in his hand and guided it. Together, they made a single stroke, and from that line, a flower bloomed. The boy gasped. Amara simply nodded. The magic had moved again.